إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير حج محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we're excited to mention and present the 30-day 40 hadith course, which we will be covering the memorization of the famous 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi, which consists of 42 hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This course is designed for those who would like to rise up to the challenge of memorizing. And alhamdulillah, Sheikh Salih Fawzan Hafidhahullah, he was asked about knowledge remaining, seeking knowledge, and how do one keep knowledge and how does it remain. And he said that al-ilm biduni hifz la yabqa. He said that knowledge without memorization does not remain. And something here in the West versus that in religious institutions, as far as Islamic institutions, they put a big thing on memorization. Here, when we learn knowledge, we don't put too much emphasis on memorization. But if you want to be well, you want to be strong, because many people talk about, I want to learn this knowledge, I want to learn this science, I want to learn the Quran, I want to learn that. You have to put a big emphasis on memorization. There's no talab ilm, there's no studying, no studious or nothing without memorization, okay? That's the second thing you want to do. First is awalan, is istima', is listening. The second thing is you want to do hifdhan. Notice in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. Allah said, indeed, we have made the Quran easy to remember. Easy to what? To remember. Meaning to remember, to have hifdhan. Okay? Indeed, فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. Is there anyone who's going to rise to the challenge? Is anyone going to rise to the challenge? So if you want to be an expert, you want to be well strong in your knowledge and your disseminating of that knowledge and your processing, then you want to lock down memorization. That's what this course is going to do for you. If you enter this course, you're going to learn the 42 ahadith of Imam Nawawi. And you might say, why would I want to memorize the 42 ahadith of Imam Nawawi? For many who don't know about Imam Nawawi's 42 hadith, why it's so widely spread or why it got the fame that it have, number one, is from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Number two, the ulama, they explain in the shuruhat, in their different explanations, in the beginning of this book. There were many other scholars during the time of Imam Nawawi and even before him who have collected 42 ahadith. I mean, not 42 ahadith, they collected a number of hadith, which is about 40, and they would call it arba'un, or they would call it arba'in. And they were collected, and what they would do is they would gather about 40 hadiths in one particular field. So if they were talking about jihad, for example, then they would gather 40 hadith emphasizing that topic. If they were talking about hajj, then they would gather 40 hadith emphasizing that topic. But what Imam Nawawi, rahimahullah, Abu Zakaria, what he was able to do, which allowed his book to be so famous, is that he did not concentrate on one or two or three topics. He was able to do a variety of topics that covers within Islam. So his book, his ahadith doesn't focus on just one this. He was able to bring us multiple different things that the deen covers, and that made his book exceptionally well, and it actually made it famous, and many people actually memorize it. Tayyib? So this course is set up so that you can memorize them. And this is the Jawam al-Kalim. This is from the Jawam al-Kalim. For those who don't know this term, Jawam al-Kalim is a miracle that was given to the Prophet ﷺ, that the ulama explained that it's called laconic speech, that he was given the ability to speak short words but give vast meanings. And that's the ahadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sheikh Shali Ali Sheikh Hafidhahullah, he says in his explanation of Imam Nawawi, he said that the good student memorizes 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi in 3 days. Okay, so now we're telling you, we're giving you a 30-day challenge in this course. All right, so you don't have to feel as though 30 days is too much. If a person can get it in 3 days, that's a good student, 42 ahadith. How imagine so that 30 days would not even be too long or be too difficult a challenge. So we encourage you to start on that. But we want to emphasize a tremendous point. Many people say, well, memorization doesn't really mean anything. Alhamdulillah. Many people talk about the memorizations doesn't really mean anything. It's about fahm. It's about understanding. It's about comprehending. But I'm going to give you a big understanding. A lot of times people don't know that there are processes and there are stages to grasping and comprehending something. All right? And if you don't understand that, you're going to miss out on this opportunity by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. There is a methodology in learning. Okay? We can crack the books all day and I can read explanation to you. You can go to so-and-so class, you can go to so-and-so class and we read explanation and you say, okay, I got fahm. But it doesn't stick with you because once you leave the class, it's not there. No, knowledge isn't knowledge until you can go inside the khala or you can go into the bathroom with it. Meaning is in your breast. That's how Islam is hold. You have it in your breast. You can call it on command. Do you understand? And you understand that masail. You understand that issue. The problem comes in when we do not place focus on that. We place focus on fahm. All right? And we're going to tell you about fahm in a minute, inshallah ta'ala. And a lot of people, they overwhelm themselves because what they do is they jump around. When it comes to studying knowledge, people jumps around. Oh, I want to learn this. I want to learn that. I want to master this. I want to master that. And they don't master anything because they don't know how to properly study. There's a certain methodology in how to study. And this was not laid down by me or any of the present day scholars. It was laid down by the ulama in the past, right? Studying is essential for your getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Studying is essential for you practicing your deen. Studying is essential for you to be upon the correct path that you need to be upon. There is no way to get it. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. And Nabi ﷺ said that knowledge is only by way of studying it. There's only way by learning it, by taking your time out to learn it. As the Prophet ﷺ said, what? Min khayr al-nas, the best of the people is the what? Man allama Quran wa ta'allamahu. The one who learns the Quran. And then he teaches it. The hadith of Uthman ibn Affan, which comes in Bukhari, he learns the Quran. So he had to do what first? He had to study, he had to memorize the Quran. Walhamdulillah. Tayyib? So that makes it clear. Now, once you begin to memorize, because that's the way that this course is going to be set up, it's intensive. You do not get into this course, yes, I have a concept, and I'm going to say it, and a lot of people are going to probably point fingers and say, well, brother, you have courses that are free, and then you have courses that aren't free. And you shouldn't charge for knowledge, or you shouldn't charge for this, and you shouldn't charge for that. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of people say that. But guess what? I have learned, and you have learned as well, that nobody places any emphasis on free stuff. All right? You give value to something that is a price for it. So you're paying is accountability, is putting yourself accountable to do the challenge. You understand? Free work gives you free work. If you know it's readily accessible, available, you're going to have in your mind, okay, I can go back to it anytime I get around to it, and you never get around to it. But if you actually pay, what you're going to wind up doing is you're going to mandate yourself that you get it. Do you understand that? So it's understood. Plus, it's an area that is also permissible. But this is a memorization course. Yes, this is a paid course. It's for 30 days. You do not get the syllabus. I don't give you my breakdown, how I'm going to help you memorize these 42 hadiths, how I'm going to do that. You get that once you become a member. After the payment process, you enter. That's when you get that. I invite you to the group. You get into the group. It's going to be laid out the syllabus. Also, there's a textbook that I have to the actual group. The textbook comes after the hifz. All right? The textbook comes after the memorization. It doesn't come before the memorization. All right? You have to memorize the 42 hadith, and then it's afterwards. For those you don't know, when you go to University of Medina and you want to get into the Quran course, it's a prerequisite to get into the Quran college. To get into Kuliyyah to Quran, guess what you have to have? You have to have the entire Quran memorized. It has to already be done. You have to memorize the book in order to get into the college. It's not, I'm going to come into the college and, oh, it's a Quran college, so they're going to teach me Quran, they're going to start me from this. No, you have to have the whole entire book, because what you're going to learn in there, the different stuff you're going to learn, it requires you to already have it in your breast. Tayyib? So, it's memorization before understanding. It's not understanding before memorization. That is a big no-no. Many people think that's what knowledge is. No, it's memorization, again, before understanding. This is why they say when it comes to the youth, the kids, it sticks in. That's why they start memorizing at an early age, because they are sponges. And then they get the fahm later. They get the understanding later. Tayyib. So when it comes to understanding, many people say, well, brother, I need to understand. I need to do this. I got a beautiful point for you before I end this talk and motivation. And I will tell you in this talk at the end, inshallah ta'ala, how to sign up, what they have to do if you really want to take this course. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyyah, he have a tremendous poem which is known as a Nuniyya, and he explains the different types of understanding. I mean, he goes into depth, and we're not going to go into depth, but I want you to understand this is how deep your fahm. You want to talk about understanding, you want to get to this level, right? Fahm, the fahm is, at the end of the day, the fahm, the comprehension, is of two levels. He says, والفحم مرتبتان إحداهما مدلول ذلك لفظ وضعا أو لزوما ثم هذا الثاني فيه تفاوت فهوم تفاوتا لم ينضبط أبدا له طرفان. So in these two lines of poetry, he was able to paint a picture for us to understand what is comprehension. How do you understand anything in the deen of Islam? I want you to pay attention. Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi says, the author rahimahullah, he said that comprehension is of two levels. The first level is understanding the intending or the intention or what's intended from the wording. Okay, let's go back. The first level of comprehension is that there are words. The Quran have al-fadh, that's the plural for the word lafz. There are words, and those words have meanings. Like the ahadith, there are hadiths, which is the plural for hadith. Those hadith have words, and those words have meaning. So you must understand what's intended from the wording. Tayyib. But he did not say just intended from the wording. He says wad'an. And when you hear this word wad, meaning that it is laid down according to the sharia. What is understood in the sharia. Not what is understood just lughatan, linguistically, okay, from the word. But what does the legislation mean in the Quran or the Sunnah intend by using that word? You understand? That's what he's saying. So the first comprehension is what? Is to understand the intending of the word according to the legislation. This clears up a lot of things for all of us. Number one, when you read a hadith, you shouldn't assume because you understand English and that the hadith been translated to English that you understand what's being said, because the hadith is still in Arabic. You just got the meaning in English. So when you want to go back, to the Arabic to ascertain its meaning. Do you understand? You don't want to go from the English to ascertain its meaning. You want to go from the Arabic to ascertain its meaning, which shows you should learn the Arabic language so that you can understand those words have intended meanings according to the Sharia. What did the Prophet ﷺ meant when he said this word? Not what just it mean in the language. What did he mean when he says it? He says, understanding he says, meaning is for you to understand what is intended from the wording legislatively. Okay? Right? He says, and it can consider in that which is legislatively or that which is linguistically. He said it is possible that when it comes to learning something linguistically from the Arabic point of view, this is easy for many people. Because all you got to do is look in your dictionary, right? You can go back and look in your dictionary and find out what does this word mean. Okay, if you have Hansveer or you have different Amorit, because we're talking about the Arabic language here. So if you go into any dictionary, you probably find that it's okay, this is easy. For many people, they can find out what a word means by looking it up linguistically. Right? He said this is easy for many of the people to understand the meaning according to the Arabic language. However, if I may, meaning in other words, understand what is indicated by this word. For example, Allah Jalla wa Ala, the Prophet ﷺ says, La yakbalu Allahu salatan bi ghayri wudu'in. The Prophet ﷺ said what? La yakbalu Allahu salatan bi ghayri wudu'in. That salat, Allah will not accept a prayer without wudu. Tayyib. Shaykh Uthaymeen says, he's using this as an example to show us, al-wudu'u, the word wudu, with the dhamma, in the Arabic language, okay, linguistically, it is more general than the wudu in the legislation. When Allah and His Messenger use wudu, it is more specific. You understand? It has a meaning legislatively. But when we talk about wudu in the Arabic language, it's more general than that. All right? It's not restricted to what Allah and His Messenger is saying. So He's trying to get you to get this picture. Right? فَالَّذِي غَسَلَ وَنَظَّفَ يَدَيْهِ يُسَمَّ مُتَوَضِّعًا. He says, for the one who washes his hands or cleans his hands, all right, this person will be called a mutawaddi'an. All right, so if you know that this is the ismu fa'il, this person is called someone who does the act of wudu. So this person is mutawaddi'an. We use the word wudu for this person because what? He washes his hand, he washes his face. But we know wudu is not that. In the Quran and the Sunnah, wudu is not just washing your hands just so they can get clean or washing your face, correct? There's more stuff to it, right? So this is what he's trying to get you to understand. It's more general than that. He says, فَلَا بُدْ أَن تَفْهَمُ مَعْنَى وُضُوءِ فِي الشَّرْعِ. So it's a must that you understand what is the meaning of wudu in the legislation. So when we go back to comprehending, all right, because everybody want to get the fahm. You don't want to do no work. I don't want to memorize, and you think knowledge is supposed to come to you. But you're supposed to just get the meaning, right? I want to comprehend. What is you comprehending? It takes time for you to understand how to comprehend. You have to comprehend the wording legislatively. All right? He says, لِأَنَّ قَوْلَ لِبْنُ قَيِّمْ رَحِمَ اللَّهُ وَضْعًا. Because here Ibn Qayyim attached to this the word wad'an. Meaning what he intended by that is what is laid down in the legislation. What is laid down in the legislation and that of the Arabic language. The second level of understanding, that was just the first level. Understanding the word according to what Allah and His Messenger means. All right? And when we said before, there are definitions that have 3 different definitions and so forth. So, let's move on. The second level is understanding those things which are obligatory and compulsory or necessitate from the speech itself. So if Allah is spoken in the Quran, there are certain things that are binding that comes along with that. All right? In other words, we're going to get to that. He's going to give us a beautiful example and you'll get what I'm saying. All right? Also, when the Prophet ﷺ speaks in the hadith that's authentic, there are certain things you have to believe along with that. You can't just affirm one thing. You have to affirm multiple things from that speech, as you should see, inshallah. He says, يعني دلالات اللزوم وهذه تتفوت فيها الناس تفوتا نظيما. So he gives a beautiful benefit here. Meaning what is indicated, those things that are indicated from the speech itself, that it is binding and necessary that you also acknowledge those things because it's compulsory. He said, and this varies greatly when it comes to people. Because some people, when they hear the speech of Allah, the speech of His Messenger, if they have the right necessary tools, they are able to extract multiple benefits, and some people are able only to extract one benefit. And they're not able to ascertain all of those things. So people varies in their understanding. Basically what he's saying. He said, He said, it's possible a person can understand one evidence, right? Right? Person can understand from one evidence, from one dalil, whether it's ayat or hadith, many of the things that are binding from that hadith or from that ayat where others cannot understand it. And and he can benefit many benefits from it, meaning the ayat or the hadith where others cannot benefit. He says, for you will find, for example, a person saying that this hadith, due to its wording, it indicates this, or due to its understanding, or what's understood from it, indicate this, and due to the way that it's being used, it is understood like this. And due to what is being pointed or alluded to, is understood from this. And due to what is compulsory and binding from it, is understood to this. You see that? Look how much benefits he just extracted just from that one hadith. That's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. He's saying you can find a person can go into a hadith of the Messenger of Allah and he goes ba 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 ba. You can't do that with English, by the way. I have to make that disclaimer. You cannot do that with the English language to a hadith or ayat. All right? It's not going to happen. You have to do that with the language itself. This is why he said it with wada'i. Okay? Understand that. He says, ثُمَّ يَسْتَخْرِجُ فَوَائِدَ كَثِيرًا لَا يَقْدِرُ عَلَيْهَا إِنسَانٌ آخَرٌ. Then he is able to extract many benefits, whereas another person would not be able to do so. For this reason, the author says in the line of poetry, ثُمَّ هَذَا الثَّانِي. He said, then this second one. Shaykh al-Dimin says, what is this هَذَا الثَّانِي? What is he talking about? He says, هُوَ مَدْلُولُ لَفْضِ لُزُومٍ. It is understanding the wording, what is obligatory and compulsory that comes from that wording. هذا ثاني فيه تفاوت الفهوم تفاوت لم ينضبط أبدا له طرفان. All right. So he says you cannot give it so much precision. Ever you can give it precision, because what can happen, it varies. A person has understanding of the Arabic language, he has understanding of the usul al-fiqh, he has understanding of these different things, and then he goes in and be able to extract multiple benefits. You're not going to be able to make that precise, because there's no limit to where Allah can allow that person to grasp, where another person probably don't even get all those benefits. That's what he's saying. So he says here, and this is correct, Shaykh Uthaymeen said, he says, for understanding varies greatly. Everybody's not on the same level when it comes to comprehension. He says, وَمِنْ أَدِّقَ مَا رَأَيْتُ فِي فَحْمِ النُّصُوصِ Al-Bukhari rahimahullah gives a benefit. He says, from the things that's so intricate to help you understand this is what I have seen, right? In the understanding of the text of Imam Bukhari. A lot of people don't understand. They say that the fiqh of Bukhari is in his tarajim, which is tarjama, is in his chapter headings. Okay, one of the beauties of Sahih Bukhari that you don't know is a lot of the ulama, they said that the fiqh of Imam Bukhari can be shown, his understanding can be shown in his chapter headings. Do you understand? He says, قَدْ يَعْجِزُ إِنسَانٌ أَنْ مَعْرِفَةَ وَجْهِ اسْتِشْهَادِهِ بِالْحَدِيثِ. He said a person can be unable and capable of understanding what is the angle that he's using as a witness by way of this hadith. هذا إذا لم يكن في باب حديث على غير شرطه. Meaning, if it was to come into a chapter, a hadith, which without any that's not its shart, it's not its explanation. يعني أحيانا يذكر ترجمة إشارة إلى حديث ليس على شرطه. Because sometimes you can see Imam Bukhari in his chapter heading, he might indicate something in the chapter heading, but he's not giving you an explanation to the hadith. That's not what he's doing. He's not indicating the explanation, or sometimes the explanation of what he's trying to show you is in the chapter heading itself. Right? He says, إشارة إلى حديث ليس على شرطه. ثم يأتي بحديث مقارب. Then he might comes with another hadith that is closely related in words. He said when it comes to the people, they varies in their understanding. Tayyib, that becomes clear. Now let's give you a beautiful example of what he was talking about, and then inshallah ta'ala give you the rest of the details. He says here, فَالشَّيْءِ يَلْزَمُهُ لَوَازِمُ جَمَّةٌ عِنْدَ الْخَبِيرِ بِهِ وَذِي الْإِرْفَانِ فَبِقَدْرِ ذَاكَ الْخُبْرِ يُحْصِي مِنْ لَوَازِمِهِ وَهَذَا وَاضِحُ التِّبْيَانِ. He says in these next two lines, he says, a shay was understood from a thing here, it was intended the wording. ذَاكَ الْخُبْرِ meaning the ma'rifah, the one who knows. He says, so Shaykh Uthaymeen said the meaning is this, is that the wording itself, it might have things that it necessitates that you must understand from that wording. لكن من يعرف هذا اللوازم. He says, well, who's going to understand that though? Who's the one that's going to understand that these words necessitates certain meanings that you have to get from them? Who will be the one that can be able to understand that? He said, يعرفها الخبير بدلالة اللزوم. He said the one who can understand it is the khabir, the one who is well informed of the intending meaning, or what's intended from those things which are luzum, necessitates. He says, for example, and look at this beautiful example, and I end with this. This is a beautiful example. Wallahi, tallahi, billahi, try this yourself and see, tell me if you will be able to get all of this from this. He says, Allah Azza wa Jal says, for example, in the Quran, Allah says, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. Al-ayah, fi Surah Al-Ra'd. Allah says, Allah khaliqu. Allah khaliqu, meaning ismu fa'il, Allah is the creator. He's the creator of what? Everything, right? So now, we read this verse. You and I, we read this verse, right? Now pay attention what you get ready to say. نَفْهَمُ مِنْ هَذَا. What do we understand from this verse? We understand that Allah is khaliq. We understand that He's creator, right? That's clear. We understand that, right? نَفْهَمُ صِفَةُ الْخَالِقِ. And we also understand that if He's the creator, then we understand the attribute from creator is what? Creating. That what? Creating is an attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal, because that's the sifa. That's the attribute from it. So if He's the khaliq, then He has to have the act or the ability to create. So creating is the attribute. He said, وَنَفْهَمُ غَيْرُهَا بِاللُّزُومِ. And he said, we also understand other things that is necessitated in acknowledging and recognizing that He is the creator. There are other things that you must understand from this. All right, so we ain't just understanding that Allah is a creator and then He had the ability to create. That's not what we're just going to understand. Look what He get ready to say, so that you understand the point what He get ready to say here. He says also what you have to understand is that having the have that meaning that to create, you have to have the ability to do so. So now you're understanding qudra, ability. That necessitates that. For anyone to create, they have to have the ability to do so. So that's compulsory. That comes along with it. So me acknowledging that Allah is the creator, I must acknowledge that He has the ability to do it. So He also says what? Idhan فَالْآيَاتُ دَلَّةٌ عَلَى قُدْرَةِ اللَّهِ. He said, therefore, the verse also indicates to us and shows that Allah shows the ability and the capability of Allah. Look what He says now. He says, secondly, we understand knowledge. Why do we understand knowledge? You say, well, where knowledge coming at in this? Why do we have to understand knowledge? Where do that come at? Look what he says. He says, because it is not possible for one to create without knowledge. You had to have knowledge in order to create something. So it's not possible. This is a part of it. It's mandatory that you understand the lawazim, which is the plural for the word lazim. All right, luzum, something that is binding that you must get also from it. This is what he's saying. He says, so, قال الله تعالى ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. Allah says in the Quran, في Surah Al-Mulk, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says in the 67th chapter, the 14th verse, Allah says, does not He who have created knows best, and He is Al-Latif Al-Khabir, so that you know that Al-Latif is an attribute of Allah and Al-Khabir is also an attribute of Allah. But Al-Latif and Khabir is so beautiful how Allah paired these two together, because Latif is like that real hidden subtle knowledge. That's something that you think that nobody is paying attention, that they don't know, that is obscure from the vision of the people. But Allah knows that. He knows those intimate details of knowledge. Then He's not only that, He knows the intimate hidden stuff. He also khabir. He's well informed, meaning He also have a general knowledge of those things that are actually known from the zawahir, those things that are apparent. And it's beautiful how Allah coupled together those two attributes. Allah alam. And then He says here, He says thirdly, we also understand irada. Just from Allah who khaliqu kulli shay. We're not even stopping. So we understood from the sifat that He creates, that we have to understand that in order to create, you have to have qudra. We understand this qudra. We have to understand that in order to create, you have to have knowledge. These are things that must be associated with you understanding. This is what He's saying. We also understand that He have irada. He have to have the will to do this. So to create, you have to have the will. You have to have the will to do it, right? He says, لأنه لا يمكن أن يخلق بلا إرادة. So it's not intended to not have the will. And I know I'm not want to go too deep, but I don't think y'all understand this. Ibn al-Qayyim written this poem because there was a lot of people during this time that were going astray in Allah's names and His attributes. So he's refuting them, by the way, so that you know that his poem is not called Nuniyah, but he's refuting them by way of these things. This is why he's talking about understanding. You're not going to come into the text and think you're just going to pick what you want to pick for those deviant groups. No, there's certain things you have to acknowledge, because there are groups who don't acknowledge Allah's names and attributes. There are groups who don't acknowledge that Allah has irada. All right, so He's explaining to you that no, you must understand that you can't create without these things. They got to come along with it. Do you understand that? So He says, we understand irada, right? And He also said we understand al-hayya. Look at that. Allah says He's what? Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul al-qayyum. Allah said He's the ever living. And He is the one who what? Is the self. Is the one who is the the one who is independent, the self-subsistence. So as Allah Jalla wa'ala is ever living. In other words, how can something dead create anything or give life? So He has to be alive. In order to create, He has to have life. Correct? So that is also necessitated from it. Guess what else? Fifthly, what's necessitated is that we also must recognize that the creation depends and need Allah. And Allah is Al-Ghani. Look at that. Just from Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. This is all of the things that goes along with a knowledge in that verse. And I want you to ask yourself, if you would have read that verse, would you got all of that? So before you want fahm, my point is I'm trying to get you to understand it. Before you want to get the comprehension, shay'in for shay'in. Pump your brakes. Stop. Intention. Sincerity. Memorize the text. Then get an understanding of the text. But have the text at hand so that you could get an understanding of the text. Don't say I'm going to jump up and go get the understanding of the text and you didn't even commit it to memory. Shaykh al-Taymiyyah says, وَرُبَّمَا إِذَا تَأَمَّلْتَ عَيْدًا تَجِدُ فَوَائِدَ كَثِيرًا. He said, and it's possible when you reflect also, you will find many benefits. And these things which have been indicated, هَلْ أَخَذْتَهَا مِنْ دَلَالَةِ اللَّهِ وَضْعًا أَوْ لُزُومًا. He said, so the question remains, what's indicated, do we take them from the indicating of the word legislatively, linguistically, or from luzuman? All right, he says the answer is that those things which are binding is luzuman. فَلَمْ نَأْخُذُ مِنْ دَلَالَةِ اللَّفْظِ وَضْعًا إِلَّا صِفَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. He says because we're not able to take just from the indicating of the word legislatively, but only one attribute, and that was creating. We told you that. Allah creating, Allah khaliqu kulli shay. What do we take from the dalalah of that word khaliq? We only can take that he had the ability to create. Creating. That's the attribute. That's what we take. But no, there are other things that we must acknowledge. Because you cannot be a creator, you cannot create without these other things. They must be along with it. You must have irada, you must have kulla, you must have hayya, you must have ilm. All of these different things must be a part of it. That's the point he's trying to make. He says, وَبَاقِي كُلُّهُ مِنَ اللُّزُومِ. He said the rest of that we extract from it is from those things that are binding. And this varies with people, because some people be able to go in and extract this, some people will not be able to do that. It varies. So the Shaykh, he says at the end of the line of the poetry, that it's not possible that one can just precisely put a limit on it. Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah, right? وَأَمْثَالَ كَثِيرَةٌ لَا تُحْصَى وَمِنَا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى أَمْرَ بِالْوُضُوءِ عِنْدَ إِرَادَةِ الصَّلَاةِ. He says the examples for this is too many to enumerate. From it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to make wudu when we want to make prayer. Right? He says, فَلَوْ أَنَّ إِنسَانَ لَيْسَ عِنْدَهُ مَا. Now pay attention to what he's getting ready to say. This is ilm. Okay? It's not knowledge to go buy the new book, post it up on the gram. This is what I'm studying for today. Right? And you don't have no fond of the book. No understanding of the book whatsoever. You place the book up there, the book get open. We got so many books in our library, man. Alhamdulillah, and we're not even getting around to it, or even having a chance to even getting around to studying these books. We don't even know how to properly study them. And you will find that a person who just take one book, it can be small. It don't got to be all these bigger things. Stop getting caught up with the bedazzle and all this stuff. Take that one book and master it. You'll be stronger than a lot of students of knowledge. I'll be honest with you. You'll be stronger than a lot of student knowledge that ain't well versed, because you have to try to. A brother asked me the other day, well, the brother called me yesterday, and he says, brother, in the time that we're living in right now, ibadah is kind of deficient. You know, he says, how do we strengthen our worship? This is what he asked, and I'm like, whoa. So I'm saying to him, like, brother, I'm not a scholar. And he asked me this question, how do we strengthen our worship? How do we strengthen our ibadah? So when I heard him say that, I said, brother, I'm not going to answer from a scholarly point of view, but I'm going to answer you from what I understand. And what I understand is that it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And this is what I'm learning. It's not about what? Quantity, it's about quality. And I explained to what I meant. Meaning it's not about how many acts of worship you can do. It's not about doing this or doing that to prove that you are worshiping Allah, or that you are this abd of Allah. No. It's about the quality of the act itself. If you can do one act of worship and perfect that one act with true sincerity, true compliance to actual sunnah, and doing it in the best way, how long do you think it's going to take for us to perfect our salat? Why do you think the nawafil prayers is so muhim? Because Allah is going to look at it, as the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah is going to look at our nawafil prayers to help patch up the deficiencies in our obligatory prayers. So meaning that we're going to fall short in our obligatory prayers, so he used the nawafil prayers to help patch up those deficiencies that we have. What you think about Ramadan? What you think paying the zakat al-fitr for? At the Hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar. What is it paying the zakat al-fitr for? It is to help out the deficiencies that you had during the month of Ramadan. So Allah, knowing us, being that we are shortcoming, that he gives us means to get to this. So I explained to the brother, you want to worry about making sure your act of worship is accepted. So you want to focus really on that worship itself. And it had me thinking, that, you know what, it's not about reading 100 books. It's not about going to 1,000,000 classes. It's about taking that one thing, that one text, or that one subject, and locking it down, being sincere, memorizing it, having it on call, on demand, Understanding its wordings, its alfaz, what is intended by it legislatively. Going into it, breaking it down. Imagine how strong you would be. Wallahi tallahi wallahi. Imagine how strong you will be. And you missed the mark. Because they was on that class 2 years ago. And you started the class with them, but then you heard of another class, and then you went to the other class, and then you went to the other class, and then those people that was there and stayed there and remained, they are further ahead, and you talk about, yeah, I got to go back. You always hear people saying that, I got to go back. Why you got to go back? You only got to go back because you did not do the proper studying, which also goes back to your sincerity. Do you understand that? Tell you, last but not least, he says, he brings about this, about the wudu. All right, so he says, okay, if you want to make wudu, prayer, you need wudu, right? So he said if a person doesn't have no water, what do he do? What happens? So he wants you to understand certain things necessitate other certain things for acts to be carried out. So if you have no water and you have to make wudu, what do you do? He says, however, the water is in the marketplace, right? And it has to be purchased. And he has some money. He got some money with him. And he's able to purchase it. He said, then we would say to this person, Yalzamuka. It is binding upon you that you go purchase that water to make wudu. All right? You have money because you have to have the qudra. You have money, you can purchase it, but you don't have no water right now. No, the first thing you do is not do tayammum. It's not the first thing you do when you don't have no water. All right? That's a big misconception too. Don't go rubbing on walls and everything like that. Tayammum is an exception that is made when there is no water. Do you understand? And that if the water is there, it will cause more harm to you than anything else. Do you understand? So then it's like the water's not there. You can't use that water if it's going to cause harm to you. Do you understand? But you have to look for water to make wudu in order for you to pray. So if you have money to buy water from the market or from the store, then this is what he's saying. He's binding on you now to buy that water so that you can pray. Right? You might say, well, it's not obligatory for me to buy the water, but guess what? It becomes binding now because you need the water in order to pray. See how it all connects? Now that associated, that's what he's trying to get you to understand. There are certain things that are compulsory. He says, فَاللَّهُ أَوْجَبَ عَلَيْكَ أَن تَشْتَرِيَ مَاءَ الْآنِ. Here, Allah is like Allah Jalla wa'ala is making binding or obligating upon you that you buy this water. لأنه لا تتم امتثال أمر بالوضوء إلا بالشرائع. Because it is not the meaning, he says, because you are not able to complete the compliance to the command of making wudu except by way of buying this water. He says, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ اللَّوَازِمَ الَّتِي لَا تُقْفَى عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ وَهِيَ عِنْدَ آخَرِينَ مِثْلُ الشَّمْسِ. And he said that how many are those things which are binding due to something needed to be completed by way of those things, or what is indicated by way of those things, الَّتِي لَا تُقْفَى, which are not hidden from many of the people, and while they are with other people, they are clear as the sun. In other words, there are many people whom Allah has gifted and blessed with understanding that they realize that this is as clear as the sun. I have to get that water because I can't make wudu, so I got the money, I got to go buy it. Or what comes from this word, and like we did with the word khaliq, as the Shaykh broke down, that knowledge in Allah says, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay, that we got about like 5 things from it. I don't know if you still remember that thing, that in order to create, you have to have qudra, ability, all these different things. So there are things that comes along with it. And that's the thing about understanding. We don't have understanding without doing the proper step first. Sheikh Salih Fawzani says, Al-ilmu biduni hifz la yabqa. Okay, do you understand this statement? Knowledge without memorization do not remain. I don't care if you was in 15 or 16 or 99 different classes. Knowledge do not remain without memorization. You want to get to it, memorize. So now let's get back. How do you sign up for the 30-day 40 Hadith challenge? It's going to be 30 days. We're going to go over the 42 Hadith of Imam Nawawi. And we're going to memorize, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I do have a method to my madness. I have a simple way, by the permission of Allah, to help you memorize these 42 Hadiths, where the good student takes about 3 days, alhamdulillah, so we know 30 days is not long. You're going to memorize the 42 Hadith. I also have a textbook, which is it's not an explanation, but it's going to give you what you need in order to keep those 42 Hadith that you memorize by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. If you're interested and you really want to challenge yourself, I advise you all, if you can, to join in. and the challenges. So one of the people, somebody asked me, do you need to know Arabic in order to do this course? You can memorize without knowing Arabic. That's true. We got a lot of Pakistani kids in Pakistan that they speak Urdu. They don't speak Arabic, but they are able to memorize the entire Quran without knowing Arabic. They're able to memorize. So memory doesn't actually lay down that you have to memorize Arabic. Okay, what I will encourage you to do though, you can enter the course if you don't know Arabic and still memorize, because I still would give you a method. What I would encourage you to do is that I would love and prefer for you to know how to read the Arabic. I'm not worried about you understanding Arabic as far as to speak it and things like that. But if you can read it, because the hadiths are in Arabic. So I want you to be able to read it. But you can listen, Sima, it's the first stage anyway, and you can get it. But I would prefer that you do be encouraged to know how to read so that you can read it for yourself and read those different things. Tell you. Now, step one is, you already know, I will post up the payment process. We go through Cash App. You start that. The registration fee is only $9.99 and the course fee is $39.99. It's a $50 program. You get in. It's 30 days. It is an intensive group. I don't teach in any other manner besides a free course anyway, where I teach a little bit to your leisure. But I like to teach in an intensive setting because that makes you more diligent. It makes you more keen. It makes you more alert, and it makes you more, you know what I'm saying, eager to get it. So I like to teach like that, all right? Teach in an intensive manner. So it is going to be an intensive course that you can get in, but trust me, love the challenge. You're going to have this before Ramadan come in. You're going to have these ahadith, inshallah ta'ala, and then by the time Ramadan come in, you're going to focus only on the Book of Allah, if that's what you choose to do, which I will advise that you would do. Focus on the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal, but also you can get these 42 ahadith. So who's up for the challenge? Step one, after you make the payment. Step two, I got a private group on Facebook. I will send you the invite. You will have access to the syllabus, breaking down how those 30 days on how you will memorize what we're going to do. Also, it will explain everything that you need to do as well. It's going to explain to you the time, the schedule for these 30 days of learning. It's going to explain that once you become a member, all of that information is going to be exposed to you. Also, with the private groups, and the reason why I use Facebook, because the private groups can allow the videos to remain up there. And Facebook is like one of the best free things that we can use right now that allow the videos to stay there so that you can always refer back to the video and always go back and record it. And I'm also going to be uploading stuff, and I also like to do pop-up videos too. So you can do that. Inshallah ta'ala, if you want to know more after seeing this video, of anything like that, please inbox me. I'll send you all of the information, all of the details, and the date that it starts is February the 10th. That's Yawmul Ithnain. All right? The day that this course is going to start is February the 10th, inshallah. The 10th of February, we're going to start on the memorization, the 30-day program, inshallah ta'ala. Whoever said it was incorrect in our translation is definitely from ourselves, shaitan. Whoever says correct is from Allah, Jalla wa ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallahu khair.